For the last few years, many school districts in Wisconsin and across the country have been using pandemic-era federal aid to pay for some staff and school programming. But that money is running out, and many districts are now facing a budget shortfall.
Because of state law, schools have limited options to raise more money, so many turn to voters. Today, I'm talking with the 3 new superintendents in Dane County about the factors playing into why so many districts are seeing a budget crunch and what happens if voters don't approve referendums that would pay for school operations.
What is it like being in charge of a school district when you see that it's not just your district that's struggling? It's almost every district in Wisconsin right now or within the next 5 years is going to be thinking about, is a referendum something we have to turn to? I guess my first question is this sustainable for K through 12 education in Wisconsin? And secondly, what do you do to keep operations going and keep planning for the future and keep planning for these more intensive approaches to things, not knowing if voters are going to approve the money to actually pay for all of it?
Wisconsin schools do not have a spending problem. We have a revenue problem. We don't receive the requisite revenue to provide what our community has demanded, and that is a very high caliber education in all of our communities. In Madison, for example, more than $20 million each year that the state imposed revenue caps cause us to have to look for, to identify in other places because we don't receive it. And that goes up every year with inflation, of course. So that's only going to get worse without changes. The other thing is special education. We are underfunded, woefully underfunded in special education to the tune of $66.4 million in Madison that I have to take from our general fund 10 and transfer that to cover the IDEA mandated costs in special education. And we should be doing that work. This isn't on the backs of children who deserve to have the services that their IEPs determine, but there's trade-offs for that.
My hope is that in the near future, our state will come together and understand the importance of K-12 education from the north to the south, from the east to the west. Every student deserves an opportunity to have a high quality teaching and learning experience, and we need our legislators. They're part of our school community, our school ecosystem, I will say. I think oftentimes we focus on the numbers of students we have in our districts, when in actuality it's the needs of the students, right? Every student comes with different needs, and sometimes, Monica may require a little bit more than Joe. But with that, additional resources are required.
To make up for gaps in state funding, many districts are and have been turning to referendums, raising property taxes to pay for school operations. In 2023, voters in the Monona Grove School District approved a $13.8 million referendum.
As we're looking towards the future with increased needs of students and not having adequate responses from reimbursement for special education and that transfer from the general aid that we have to do is already causing us to look at, was that even enough money? And that's really, really difficult for communities to understand. Like, you just made this ask, and how can it be different? And I think beginning to really question, how can we keep going back and asking for more? There's got to be a better way and a different way.
Both MMSD and Waunakee are putting referendums before voters this November. Gothard says it's not ideal, but there's no other option.
For us, it's survival. It truly is. The asks that we have with aging facilities and with revenue caps that are preventing us from programming for our students in the ways that are effective for their learning.
What happens if this is the time when voters in Madison say, we've supported you for years, but this is a bridge too far, we can't do it this time?
Instead of us receiving support externally, we would have to look inward and identify how those costs are going to balance out. There would definitely be reductions. I've not identified them yet. We're not at that point. We're closing up the books and getting this year ready. But for future budgets, we would have to identify likely some pretty substantial reductions.
I recorded that interview earlier this month.
The next week, the Monona Grove School District announced its superintendent and assistant superintendent found the district had been operating in a deficit over the last 3 years. We've got you covered on the debt Monona Grove is facing and how the district is planning to manage it on our website, WKRW.com.